All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, doing a reaction video. Was not expecting to react to this. Was expecting to react not to this. The Giants are letting Saquon Barkley hit the open market and Xavier McKinney hit the open market. Neither one are being having the franchise tag or the transition tag used on them. I want to start with McKinney because we thought the transition tag was going to get used. It's been floated out there, and it seems like it was just an empty threat from Joe Shane working the media to try and get Xavier McKinney to sign the best offer the Giants were offering, which we don't know what it is at this point. The transition tag would have been $13.8 million compared to $17.1 million of the franchise tag, which 13.8, 14 mil per year, I feel like is the number that both sides should be happy to sign on this. It takes the average of the top 10 safeties instead of the top 5. So McKinney will be free to negotiate on Monday. But if they had signed the transition tag on him or placed that on him, he would have been able to negotiate. And if he had reached a deal with a new team, the Giants would have had 7 days to match it. But they wouldn't have had any compensation like they do the franchise tag. Now, it's not used very often, right? It just got used on Kyle Duggar, which was the 4th time it's been used in 10 years. It sounds good, right? Like, hey, you go negotiate with another team. But in reality, what team wants to go negotiate with the player? And then when they, agree to that deal, the team, like the Giants, would just most likely match it, probably, right? That's why you would put the transition tag, is because you're willing to match whatever he's able to get out there. So it's pretty cutthroat, but I didn't mind it because McKinney's agent, David Mulugeta, is known to be cutthroat getting safety deals. So the right deal for McKinney should be $14 million per year over 4 years. I think both sides should happily sign that. I don't know why there wasn't an agreement, right? Were the Giants, giving, him up to 16 mil and he's not taking it and he wants it more? I don't know. And we need to find those details out. I would have given McKinney the 5th highest safety contract, right? Which is tied with Jesse Bates, 4 years, $64 million with 2 years guaranteed. That would have been $16 million per year. Obviously, he's not as good as Jesse Bates, but you're putting him as, you're tying him with the top 5, which would make him happy. And with the inflated cap, obviously these contracts are going to go up every year. So I would have sacrificed some of your morals too, because the Giants don't have guys that they have to pay, right? We're not making a decision of either or of this player is coming down. Like, nobody from the 2021 draft class needs to be paid. The only person from the 2020 draft class from Xavier McKinney is Andrew Thomas, who got his extension during training camp. There's nobody else. So here are the players that the Giants have under contract through 2026. So, 3 seasons from now. Daniel Jones won't be here. Dexter Lawrence, Andrew Thomas, Darren Waller won't be here. Bobby Okereke, Graham Gano, and then the 7 picks from the 2023 draft. You don't have any, you essentially have 3 big contracts on the books for those years. And Okereke, maybe, he ends up, getting extended. So you don't have these contracts. Something needs to get done with McKinney. To me, there's no reason why he shouldn't be on this Giants roster. Maybe he goes out in free agency and gets $18 to $19 million per year. But that's why I thought the transition tag would have actually been a good, decision by the Giants. Because you can control whether you decline to match that or you do match it. And I don't think he's going to get that. Maybe he does. But you could have controlled essentially the contract negotiations on that with the transition tag, and I think you've been more likely to get a deal done before Monday. Now, hey, maybe a deal does get before this Monday at noon when the legal tampering period starts. But you've got it. He's 24 years old. He's a player who doesn't have limitations in his game. Like other safeties that the Giants have let walk, like Landon Collins, where it's like, hey, he's a good safety. He can't play in coverage. That's a pretty big deal. McKinney doesn't have that. And he becomes a much more important piece for your team with Shane Bowen as a defensive coordinator, where safety versatility is such an important part for his defense. And, the fact that you just need good players on this team right now. The Giants need to keep good players and players that they drafted. They did that with Thomas and Dexter Lawrence, and it seems like they're just kind of letting McKinney go. I don't know. Hopefully a deal gets done. With Saquon, I agree with doing this. Saquon's a good player, and he's still a good player, but he's not the same player that he was early in his career. He had less than 1,000 yards this past season, 3.9 yards per carry. and he's 27 years old entering year 7. It's just not easy to bet on that, and it's not going to be a good situation for him to thrive. And then by the time it is that good situation, he may be done at that point, right? Like I could share all these metrics of how his numbers have went down every year. Like his first 2 years, 20-plus yard run rate was 5.9% and 5.2%. Were those good O-lines? The last 3 years, 1.9, 3.1, and 3.8. He's 45th out of 48 running backs in success rate. He's 16th in yards after contact per attempt, which is good, but not great. Only 7 guys, had less missed tackles for us who, qualified for the threshold. 18th in receiving yards for running backs, 24th in yards per route run, 5th in drops. So the metrics just are not on his side of becoming a better player, and I just don't think this is a situation for him to thrive at this point of his career. So we'll see what the market dictates for him, right? It could be $12 million, it could be $8.5 million, and then you're talking about the Giants maybe bringing him back on that low number. But the Giants, to me, need to get a deal done with McKinney. I don't care if it's a little bit of overpay. They need to keep their young, good players. 24 years old, has no limitations as a player, and should be a part of the future for Big Blue. So like and subscribe to the channel. We have, podcasts, all that good stuff, film, draft coming up. So make sure to check out the channel. It's the best spot for Giants content. We appreciate you. See you on the next one. Until then, let's go Big Blue.